Hey YouTube, it's JP Dillon. Today we're looking at I think it's an early 40s Stewart-Warner with an RS-180 chassis. Uh, this has been on my list of things to get to for a while now. This belongs to a viewer of the channel. You can see the cabinet's in pretty decent shape for its age. Got some dust collection here. Here's a close-up of the dial. Regular AM band plus 2.5 through 6 megacycles. Police band of the day. Drill cloth's in nice shape. This had gone to somebody else before he got a hold of it, and they did some modifications which I'll show you. But right now, other than powering up in a dull hum, it doesn't do much of anything. So we're going to see if we can get this thing operational again. Let me get it up on the bench and show you what's been done. So as you can see, there's a little bit of creativity that went into this one. He made a new baffle, but he's got a car audio speaker here, which I'm not really thrilled about. And that in turn is tied into the old audio former and electromagnet, which used to be on the back of the old speaker. And the purpose of these not only served as a means to create a magnetic field to push against the voice coil, but they were also a choke for the power supply. So this was left here, and he's just got it mounted onto the chassis here. You can see underneath where the voice coil and everything about the basket used to be. So yeah, props for cleverness there on that one. He's just got it mounted to the edge of the transformer by one wing here. So I guess that kind of gets it done, but it sure does hum an awful lot. And it's supposed to go to a long wire antenna, and then this would be grounded. I'm guessing that's what this terminal strip here was for. I don't know if you can read that, but it says genuine Stewart-Warner craft built cabinet. So let me plug it in. Alright, so here's what it currently does. We definitely have some audio decoupling issues there and oscillation. Happens regardless of whatever you choose as far as a band. So that's kind of where we're at with this one. So the next thing to do is to get the chassis out and see what we can find through an examination of it. In order to get the chassis out, you've got screws there, and you've got a screw there. And with those three, it should slide out after we unplug the whole speaker mess. Alright, I got the screws out. Let me disconnect the speaker he's got up here. And let's unplug, assuming I can get to it. Definitely don't want to yank on the wire, so we're just going to do a little bit of prying here around the perimeter. This thing is really in here. There we go. Technically, I didn't really have to do that, but... Alright, let's get the chassis out. Okie dokie. Let's set that aside. Then we'll move the cabinet. Okie dokie. So here's our chassis here. There's the silly little LED thing he's got in there. not a fan of those. Let's see what the bottom of our chassis looks like. Well, I can see the work that's been done here. Got some capacitors, some out of tolerance resistors here. Just got to make sure all of these connections are good. A lot of stuff just kind of floating out here in space. Cathode bypass cap. These Chinesium capacitors here. But the dude has meticulously marked the chassis. 6U7, 6A8, 6K8. Not sure what that one is over there. So there's nothing obviously that stands out as defective. I don't see any obvious loose connections here. It's not like a capacitor came undone or something like that, and that's causing the motor boating. Could also be that I need to have an antenna load on it, but I don't recall that being the case before from what I was told. It's one of those scary micromold capacitors back in there. Those are almost always bad. Other than that, there's another one. Another one of those micromold things. They gotta go. I mean, I don't see obvious signs of why this would fail. And the guy was smart enough to put a fuse on the chassis. That's good. It's clever. I mean, you could have just mounted a choke somewhere, but I guess that's, space-saving convenience. And I assume that these tubes are all going to be good, but we're going to test them for sure. Top cap connections are secured. 6K6 is your output. 6U7, 6Q7, 5W4. They've got a 5U4 in there. I think the 5, they might be the same, but I don't think that would change anything. 5W4 and 5U4. He might have rewired it. Yeah, I'll have to look into that. But so far, there's really nothing that stands out why this shouldn't work. So the 5W4 and the 5U4 both have the same base. The 5W4 is 1.5 amp. The 5U4 is 3 amp. Let's see what the efficiency is. That conducts at 44 volts. That conducts at 45 volts. That's what the drop is. So about the same. It's just the 5U4 is beefier. Alright, so we can leave that be. Alright, so we're going to test the 6Q7 here. That's the first section of 3, it looks like. And the second section. Didn't like that. Make sure I got the wrong one, or right one. Yeah, that's not looking so great. It's coming up very slowly. And then the third one, barely registers. So I'm thinking the 6Q7's done here. Yeah, it's just barely budging the needle. The only section that's good is the first one. And even that's just kind of poor, so we need to get our hands on one of these for sure. Next is our 6K7, which just has one section. That's just a IF amplifier. That's supposed to be 96. Yeah, that checks out okay. No leakage or short, so that one's good. And next is our 6A8. Yep, that's 95. All that's set. And this check's okay. So just that that one 6Q7 or whatever it was, that was unhappy. And just because I'm sure everyone wants to know, we're going to check the 5U4. I doubt that it's bad. Section 1's good. Section 2's good. Yep, I figured as much. One more thing I notice here, which we're probably going to have to take care of, is the tuning condenser, I believe, is supposed to be isolated from the chassis. Now, if we take a look down in here, yep, there's a grommet, or what's left of a grommet there, which is supposed to be isolating that. He's got silicone sealer to try to hold it together, which isn't working very well. And then there's another one down in there, also with a silicone blob. And then this one at the back here is non-existent. So that could be the reason why we were getting the oscillation, because this is supposed to be physically isolated from the chassis. So we got to figure out a way to fix that. So we need a 6Q7 for sure, and figure out a way to isolate that from the chassis, and very likely this will come back to life, but that's going to be for the next episode. This concludes the assessment, and then once we get the tube we need and get some grommets in there, we'll fire it up and see if it works. So thanks for watching. More stuff to come.